Next, on Binge with Baldrick.
One normal pilot, two crazy UFO sightings.
This is Binge with Baldrick, the interesting show for curious minds and hungry hearts. Here now, a guy who's lived his entire life with artificial intelligence, Thomas Baldrick.
Greetings, friends. Much love and gratitude for being here. I am Thomas Baldrick. I woke up today. Life is good. I am blessed to be Julian Baldrick's dad, and I invite you to be part of our family by subscribing to Binge with Baldrick. Just hit the subscribe button. Do yourself a solid and do me one at the same time. Today is unique, to say the least. We're exploring a buddy of mine's encounters with UFO, so let's go. All right, campers, just give me a chance to set this up properly. I'm going to assume three things here and deliver value on all three of them. Number one, you're curious. This episode will be fascinating, so curiosity satisfied. Number two, you're going to want proof. It is coming right up. And number three, even after you get proof, you'll be tempted to justify it as that was nothing, or that happens every day. Because that feels better, that feels safer. And besides, others won't think of you as some wingnut or wackadoo. I get it. I'm not interested in throwing away a track record as an accomplished journalist to go Jerry Springer on you. But even if I were, the world we live in is changing. Here are two main areas of why I say that with a good amount of confidence. The first is the U.S. government. For whatever reason, government officials felt the need to change the long-used term UFO, unidentified flying objects, to a new official term, UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomena. Now, both mean basically the same thing, but this change obviously shows an added focus on the topic. Next is also courtesy of the United States military. Did you know the Department of Defense now has the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO? Furthermore, did you know the U.S. Navy has an official Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force? Believe it or not, it's pretty hard for anyone to see the videos released where Top Gun military pilots are eyewitnesses to crazy-looking things.
Oh, got it!
Roger. There's troubleshooting.
Did you box moving target?
No, I took an auto track.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Wow, look at that, man.
Now to the second main focus, which has changed thoughts on UFO or UAP. That is you, me, civilians. A 2019 Gallup poll showed 33% of Americans believed some UFO were alien spacecraft, whereas 60% believed they could all be explained. Gallup's results, just 2 years later, in 2021, were different. It was up to 41% of those surveyed who now believed some UFO were aliens. And those who believed all could be explained, that number was down to 50%. Today, that trend is likely growing because of the thing in your hand, a smartphone camera. It's not like previous generations where people reported seeing strange things in the sky but had no visual proof. Videos and photos are everywhere online. And here's one nugget that's a little off the menu but related. On March 13th, 1997, there was an event here in Arizona where I live known as the Phoenix Lights. Countless people across the Grand Canyon State and the state of Nevada all reported seeing unidentified flying objects. They reported seeing the same things. Now, here's where it gets even more like a Hollywood science fiction movie. One of the first eyewitness reports that night was to the Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport Control Tower. It seems a private pilot was in his approach and he was landing with his son. He reported seeing unidentified uniform lights flying in a large V-shaped formation. You ready for this? That pilot was none other than Kurt Russell. Yes, that Kurt Russell. Kooky, huh? And there's one last item supporting openness to UFO existence that I want to bring up, and it is the matter between the government and the public. Various polls have shown the majority of Americans believe the U.S. government knows more about UFO or UAP than it lets on. What say you? I know the guy I'm about to bring in here. He's not selling coffee mugs or T-shirts in Area 51. He is cool. He's as normal as the rest of us, whatever that means. But he is also an experienced pilot. He's been flying for nearly 40 years and has somewhere around, I think, 20,000 flight hours. 20,000. Most of them over his home state of Alaska. Now, whether a pilot is famous like Kurt Russell or not, they are our experts, our eyes in the sky. We trust them. Think about it. Whenever you get on an airplane to go somewhere, anywhere, you turn over your trust. You turn over your life to pilots. This episode of Binge with Baldrick locks in on one particular pilot's two UFO incidents. Both were near Mount Shishaldin. It is a unique active volcano in the Aleutian Islands of Alaska. I love how geologists say it is currently showing signs of unrest. She's cranky. And anyone with even a casual interest in UFO or UAP knows volcanoes are often the locations of many sightings. All right, let's go now to Theo Chesley. He grew up in Alaska and knows the state and Mount Shishaldin by air as well as anyone. Why not start, Theo, with telling people about what you do, and go ahead, give a plug for Precision Air.
Came to Alaska when I was basically 11 years old and never left. Precision Air was born out of necessity, I guess, because I ran another company for almost 20 years and successfully and built it into something pretty special. And then the owner wanted to sell out. And so I ended up buying the air taxi certificate. We've been running for the last 9 years, but I flew air taxi for 20 plus years before that. So, and then privately 10, 15 years before that. So I've flown a long time.
Explain air taxi to people, would you, sir?
Anything that is, needs to be hauled in the state of Alaska. I mean, there's a lot of supplies, there's people, school teams, construction companies, telecom technicians, native administration people that need to move forth and back, and then just the regular, Alaskan citizens that need to go around.
I know it's breathtaking to see, but in all your experience, what is it like flying over the Alaskan skies? Is it busy? Is it crazy? Is it typical?
Unless it's high intensity bear season or where there's a lot of hunters flying around or just beach goers and stuff. For the most part, not a lot of traffic. Down in our area, maybe 5, 6, 8 planes come down there a day, possibly commercially. And then personal airplanes are flying by every once in a while. But, for the most part, you're on your own out there.
Theo Chesley, you are cleared for takeoff. Would you please describe what changed your life that one morning, October 2019, near the Mount Shishaldin volcano?
No, I remember it clear as a bell. We departed out of Sandpoint with some school district administrators on there, and we're heading on a routine mission to basically out to the Dutch Harbor area from Sandpoint, which is about an hour and a half flight. That mountain is on the first Aleutian Island. From the Alaska mainland. And the Alaska Peninsula goes out, and it's the archipelago that goes towards Russia, about 650 nautical miles from Anchorage, somewhere in there. It's a pretty amazing mountain, to be honest. If you take a picture at a certain angle of that mountain, the sides are completely symmetrical, and there's one of the very few in the world that are like this. Anyways, that mountain's probably a good 135 miles from Sandpoint. So we were pretty much midway. It was actually a real nice day, clear, not many clouds out there. And as we approached the Shaldin, we saw a disc-shaped was moving towards the mountain. As we were coming towards the mountain, it was getting closer to the mountain and then sort of went by the mountain and sort of parked. And at that point, I guess it sort of turned vertical and made sort of like a portal, not an absolute ring. It was more of an oval-shaped. It went from a disc shape to an oval shaped and sort of parked. And it had sort of a weird edge on it too. Half the ring was fatter than the other half. We knew what the ground speed was. We knew what our airspeed was. So I knew there was wind up there. So when this smoke ring, it looked like a smoke ring at that time, stopped and held its shape, I'm like, oh, well, this is really strange. Because I knew there was wind, and this smoke ring was probably about the 10 or 11,000 foot level. The mountain goes to 9,400 feet, and it was parked above the mountain and off about 2 or 3 miles behind it. Just sat there, and we were taking pictures and like going, well, what the heck is this? And then as we were going by the mountain, something sort of flew out of it, but we couldn't still really tell what it was. We're taking pictures. Looked like some sort of like a kid's jack that would be spinning, and you could see it had a little bit of smoke coming off of it. The mountain was active at the time, so there was steam coming out of it. But this thing flew out of the mountain, and it was obviously not a smoke anomaly. It was an object. But at the time, we were looking at it. We weren't really knowing what we were seeing. We were taking pictures only to go back and look at the pictures and like, oh wow, this is strange. And as we were going by the mountain and where we're going to be getting to a point where we weren't going to be able to take pictures much longer, this object basically went into the ring, and the ring was oval, and it started to pull the ring out of shape. It's a really strange deal. And it almost made it look like a noose after. It had a big tail going upwards, and you could see the object in that end of the tail, but the tail was pointed towards the sky like it was starting to leave wherever it was going. It was just very strange. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, we had an oval sitting there, then we had something fly into it, then we had something pulling the oval out of shape because of the smoke, like it was all connected. I don't know. It's very strange. Going through all the pictures after we got back, we noticed on the side of the mountain that a green sphere had materialized, and it wasn't a lens flare. It wasn't anything like that because we were taking pictures. There were no lens flares. And all of a sudden, in two of the frames, there was a fairly vivid green sphere with a pretty good outline on it.
Theo, there was a lot going on here in this UFO incident. How long was it? I'm trying to get a handle on that. Was it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes? What do you think?
Probably more like 10 or maybe even 15 because we saw it quite a ways off. It would have taken us 10 minutes to get to the mountain. I mean, I could probably go back on the timestamps and actually figure out how long the occurrence took from the first picture to the last picture and actually get a timeline on it. Once I saw that object go into the vertical ring and start to pull it out of shape, I thought this would be a good time for us to get going on out of here. We never did alter our course, but at that point I started to veer way away from the mountain and just tried to hightail it out of there.
I understand. The 3 customers who were passengers on board with you that morning have chosen to remain private. I get it. But the record shows it's not like you were giving a ride home to 3 drunk guys who just stumbled out of a bar. The fact is, those 3 people with you were educated people. They were working in education. This, to me, adds tremendous credibility to the story, even though your recollection in detail and your visual proof is already enough.
Yeah, no, we had I believe it was a superintendent, his wife, who was a vice principal, and then a technician guy. And the technician guy was in the right seat with me. So we were pretty, we were a candid audience for sure.
Got it.
Looking at. And then later, once I started to pursue, like, who can we tell this to? I mean, somebody needs to know about this, and he didn't want to do that, which was fine. For what we saw and what took place, that was probably more of an exciting occurrence than the second one, but the second one was really even stranger.
Theo Chesley, I'm not a conspiracy guy, but something tells me you just gave us the PG-rated version of what happened there, and that's cool. Anyway, let's fly forward about 6 months in time. It's the spring of 2020. The world is in a state of shock with the COVID-19 pandemic. You, sir, are again flying near Mount Shasholden, but this time you're solo. Would you explain what happened?
Same kind of day, clear day out there. And of course, now that I had seen something there once, I'm really scoping out the surrounding. As I approached the mountain and the clear day, there was nothing to see. All of a sudden, out of my left side, pilot side, and I look up and there's this crazy looking, weird shrouded cloud that came out of nowhere, shaped sort of like a weird spaceship or something, like a wing. I don't know what it was, but to have that just come out of nowhere really got my attention. It's like, whoa, where'd you come from? And it really looked strange because it looked cold. I mean, the cloud looked like something that just came out of deep space because the edges of the cloud looked like super cooled. It didn't look like a normal cloud. Something inside this cloud, and you could see it. The crazy part was it was parked exactly where the same spot where that ring was, when that ring decided to stop and park with a 20-knot wind, mind you. And I'm looking at it, taking picture after picture, and this thing is sort of morphing into something pretty large object, maybe a mile across. And it was hard to tell, but it was some kind of winged object in there, and this began to become more and more defined, and it had all kinds of things going on with it. And of course, I'm flying by again, so when this thing appeared, the timeline was shorter than the previous occurrence because I saw it almost as I was on the mountain. Towards the end, it got smaller, and I don't know, the object looked like it had a basically arm and a wing. I don't know. I mean, the pictures don't lie. I mean, you look at it and go like, what? It just was not a cloud. It was something that was moving around in the cloud. What it was, I don't know. Anyways, I continued that flight on, landed to Dutch Harbor. Of course, I had a couple of buddies there that were fueling the airplane and stuff, so I'm showing them pictures. And they're like, whoa. And then going back by the mountain, and that's when I started having the magnetic heading failures, and the aircraft kept wanting to point towards the mountain as I was going by it. And I'm probably 15 miles off the mountain on a direct course going by it, and then it aircraft kept veering off towards the mountain on a direct heading. So that was pretty strange. I clicked it off, got back on the heading. Okay, all fine and dandy, and clicked back on the autopilot, and we're holding a course, and I'm kind of still I look at the mountain, and I look back down, and here we are. The course has changed again, 30, 40 degrees, heading back for the mountain. This happened twice. So I hand flew the airplane, and there was no pull, but for some reason, when it was on autopilot, the magnetic pull from the mountain was messing with the magnetic heading compass that's slaved up to the autopilot.
Theo, in all your years and all your hours as a pilot, have you ever felt a strong magnetic pull in an aircraft like what happened to you that day?
No, never. Never had an airplane just start taking off on its own heading without me doing it. Unless you had a malfunctioning autopilot, which is initially what I had thought. But then after resetting it past the mountain, I realized that no, there's a little more going on than that, because autopilot worked fabulously for the rest of the flight, and then after that for months and years.
Theo, how do you explain the unexplained?
Like I said, the timing was everything. I've been by that mountain 100 times since then, or maybe more, and every time I look, and it's just nothing happening, even when it's active. So, it was just a weird occurrence that happened twice, and something must have been going on. Again, I don't know if it was extraterrestrial, military. We're not sure what was going on there, or a little of both. That's the thing. We don't have no clue. It could have been a little of both. I mean, I know the military is not telling us a lot of stuff that they know, and now we have to find out for us on our own. And I just happened to be there, and you could say it was the wrong time at the wrong place, but I consider it the right time at the right place, because I got to see something I probably wasn't supposed to see. Had I ever seen one before that? No, I hadn't. Did I believe? I did. Too many sightings, too many reportings for it not to be happening. I guess that's the thing.
Theo, I wanted to hear your story in detail, and I wanted others to have that same benefit. I mentioned to you, I wanted to share an experience that I had. And even though this episode is about you and what you saw, I want to get your take while I have you. It was the night of Saturday, December 14th, 2025, around North Pole, Alaska. There was no one else around, no lights around, no nothing. And I was up on this elevated platform, looking all over the place, hoping to see the Aurora Borealis for the first time. I started texting my son about the crazy things I was seeing. You never want your kids to think, whew. Then I wrote 2 bright green things just crisscrossed and disappeared.
Well, like I said, that whole area has been kind of a hot spot. You know,
Theo! Theo, where have you gone? Well, that was interesting, huh? How fitting. Perhaps Theo Chesley was just abducted by aliens. That sucks. I guess I'll have to get his take later, but I don't know. Better him than me, I guess, and better him than you, too. Woo. You couldn't plan that, folks. You just couldn't plan that. But seriously, I'm not sure what happened, but in closing, I am sure about two things. One, technology. Advancements in technology have changed everything for us in life and probably will continue to with UFO and UAP. And two, not to be a downer, but the awful way so many people treat others today, the division, the daily murders and violence, the horrible things that are said, the hatred of people who look, think, and believe differently than us, and so on. I don't know about you, but all this tells me there is absolutely no way that we humans in 2026 are the most intelligent beings or the most intelligent form of life in the universe. Think about that. I mean it sincerely. So until next time, if there is a next time, I invite you to subscribe to Binge with Baldrick. As you can see, there are all kinds of things going on. Be sure to lock your doors, have your camera ready. Godspeed, my friends. Go Birds. And call me Theo, would you?